In this demo, we'll show how Power BI deployment pipeline works and how to integrate with Azure DevOps. First, we have a PPU workspace here. It can also be a premium workspace. You need one of the two in order to be used in the deployment pipeline. We can create a pipeline, give it a name, and then assign it to an environment. And then you can assign other workspaces to different environments in the same pipeline, or you can click deploy to test or deploy to prod later to create new workspaces as well. You have the option to do a total deployment or a selective deployment. In this case, we want to do a selective deployment, and we can do deploy to test. And now Power BI is creating the workspace for us, as well as copying the artifacts over. And once the deployment is complete, you can see that Power BI is telling us there's a difference between the two environments because we did a selective deployment earlier. And within the new stage, the new environment, I can swap out the connection string for the data source. If I have a data source that is sitting in a test environment, I can add a rule, swap out my current connection string for the connection string of my test environment of the data source instead. And in addition to doing the deployment within the deployment pipeline itself in the UI, you can also do the deployment with Azure DevOps. Here within this pipeline, you can see there are some differences between my two environments with some additions, changes, and deletions. Instead of doing the deploy to test here, I'm going to do the deployment from Azure DevOps. Here within Azure DevOps, I can create a new release pipeline and then choose empty stage, give it a name, and then add a task. Now these will be Power BI tasks. I already have these tasks because I have automation tools installed, and these represent everything you can do with the REST API with the deployment pipelines. Here you want to choose the connection, service connection, which is set up using service principal, and then you can either give it the ID or the name of the pipeline and the target stage. And then you can again choose total deployment or selective deployment. This time we'll do a total deployment, and then we can then save and create release. Once the release is created, you'll be able to do the deployment. We can click deploy here, do a manual deployment, and now we're going to go back to Power BI and look at the items being deployed there. As you can see, Power BI is copying the content from my dev environment to my test environment. And this action was kicked off from Azure DevOps, and now the deployment is completed.